on the podcast with you, the radio show, my brother. Looking forward to coming back to Miami. This will be my first visit to Miami since 2015. So it's been 6 years. Although I go to Fort Lauderdale on a regular basis, West Palm on a regular basis, I haven't been to Miami in 6 years. So it's going down this Saturday, July 24th. The Prince of Pan-Africanism, Dr. Umar Johnson, will be at the Dorothy Bendross Economic Institute, 5120 Northwest 24th Street, 2 until 8, absolutely free, no tickets, no registration, just show up. From 2 to 4 will be a lecture and community conversation, and from 4 to 8, anybody can drop in and get a book signed. It will also be a special ed clinic. Any parents with questions about their children, autism, ADHD, learning disability, emotional disturbance, any questions at all, they can get free answers from Dr. Umar Johnson. So you got the lecture, special ed clinic, as well as the book signing, and free food and drinks will be given out. Sister Shardicia, so much thanks to her for helping me put this together. She was contacted by a Black restaurant. I forget the name, but they're going to be giving out free food as well that day.
That's beautiful. And on that note, shout out to the Circle of Sisterhood and the Circle of Brotherhood. That's their facility that you'll be at, and they serve our community so well. I'm a part of the Circle of Brotherhood as well, and I could attest and speak to the amazing work that they do. These are some brothers that have done some, damage back in the days to the community, and then now they're trying to repair the damage that they might have been a part of. So, I commend them on that. And they're doing really good stuff, Doc, just so you know.
Powerful. Glad to hear that.
Absolutely. Let's start off with the new book, the Black Parent Advocate. Please explain what people can look forward to in this book.
Sir.
Why is this
Black
book
Parent
so important?
Advocate, The Art of War. The subtitle is The Art of War for Dealing with America's Public and Charter Schools. So this book is about helping parents fight back without emotion, without violence, without anxiety, without worry, without depression, without nerve-wracking. How do you effectively and successfully respond to the school if they want to put your child on drugs and you don't agree? They want to put them in special ed and you don't agree. They want to send them to discipline school. You don't agree. They think the child is retarded. You don't agree. So this book teaches you how to respond in written form by giving our parents a whole collection of sample letters that all they have to do, my brother, is recreate them, sign them, send them to the school. If they want your child in a special ed for a learning disability and you don't agree, use this letter. You want your child tested for speech and language impairment and they don't want to test them, use this letter. Your child been in special ed for 5 years and still can't read, use this letter. So I give them some background information on that particular topic, and then I give them the sample letter that they can recreate and give to the schools. A very simple, straightforward, and very powerful manual, over 550 pages.
It sounds like a blueprint.
Yes, sir.
It really sounds like a blueprint, and it's really necessary because I believe that just the lack of knowledge and information is really what, a lot of our people suffer from. And we just don't know better, and lack of resources, or direction towards the resources. So this seems like a great thing. Why did you decide to do this? Why again, is this so important to you? There's so many things that I've heard you talk about. There's so many topics that you speak so well about, but why? This is your heartstring right here. Why is that?
After the first book, I noticed that there were still a lot of parents who had some questions that needed answers. And even though I gave them the system, the structure, the process, the definitions, a lot of parents still needed a little bit more spoon feeding. Gotcha. And I say that respectfully because it is a lot to digest. And so I said, okay, Psychoacademic Holocaust, which is the title of the first book, was more of a tour de force through the psychoacademic Holocaust. But now I have to give them the weapons that they can use to be successful in fighting against that Holocaust. So the first book was more of a war manual and this is more of a strategy guide.
Nice.
And so, you want to read them both. The first book, unfortunately, is out of print because I'm working on the second edition, so it will be re-released. It's the entire original book with some new chapters. So I'm hoping to have that out by the end of the summer when I come back to Florida, because I will have to come back at some point to offer my Black Parent Bootcamp training. I will have to do that. And that's a 12-hour from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. training where I teach parents everything they need to know in order to navigate the system. That is an all-day thing. That's why we call it a boot camp. But this Saturday will be the introduction to that with the lecture and the community conversation and the book signing and the special ed clinic. So this is like a nice, what you want to call it, appetizer. Saturday is the appetizer. And then I'll come back for the training later this year. But the book is very important. Parents need it. I hope they come out and get it, especially in Miami, because you have such a diverse African culture. You have your Haitian Africans, you have your West Africans, you got your American Africans. You have so many of us there. And a lot of those parents and their children, my brother, are being taken advantage of because they don't know school law. They don't understand special ed process. And what happens a lot is when an African immigrant child shows up in America. I don't care if it's a Haitian African, Cuban African, I don't care if it's a Nigerian African. They show up in America and they don't understand the language. They are put in special ed illegally, because if a child can't speak English, that's not a learning problem. They simply have to be acculturated to the language. So they're supposed to go into a program known as ESOL, ESOL, English as a second language. But let me tell you what they do in Miami, my brother, because they do it everywhere. If they know the parents don't know their rights, they're not going to hire an ESOL teacher to work with that kid. They're going to evaluate them for special ed, slap them with a learning disability, and put them in special ed jail. And that's why I'm hoping all the parents in Florida come out Saturday to hear the information and get the book. And even if they don't get the book, just come and get some of the information. And I say this with all humility, my brother. I say this with all humility, but I'm the only school psychologist doing this, not just in the conscious community, but in the entire country. If you know of another one who does this, I would like to know who they are. Because for the 20 years that I've been educating parents, I'm the only one I know who do it this openly and this unapologetically.
It seems like from the last time we spoke and when we have these conversations about, this misinformation, it seems like it's a money play too. Because I remember the last time we spoke, you had mentioned like schools get funding based on how many kids are enrolled as far as learning disabilities and things like that. Is that kind of like what it comes down to as well, like a money play?
It's all about money. Whenever you analyze any of the problems we as African people suffer in this world, you have to look at it from two lenses. You have to look at it from the lens of racism, and you have to look at it from the lens of capitalism, because those two systems are inextricably linked. Okay, so wherever there's a problem for Black people, somebody's getting paid. And whenever somebody's getting paid off of Black people, they're creating a problem. So special ed is both an economic problem and a problem of racism, because you are deliberately labeling Black children who don't have anything wrong with them. You're labeling them with disabilities, and you're making them and their parents believe that they need something special in order to learn. So that is your racism. And by doing that, you create a permanent underclass of African children. And then on the capitalism side, every time a Black child goes into special education, as you mentioned earlier, the school gets paid. The school gets paid per child. And on average, a special ed child in America is worth twice as much as a regular ed kid. So let's say in Miami, let's say hypothetically, they're spending $15,000 a year per regular education child. That means once that child qualifies for special ed, they're not worth 15 anymore, they're worth 30. So imagine a second grade kid put in special ed, 10 grades to go, 10 more years of school to go. If that school district is making an extra $15,000 off of that kid, he's worth over $100,000 for the rest of his career. One kid, more than 125 grand. So that means 10 kids is over 1 million. 20 kids is over 2 million. You see how this goes?
Yeah.
So you can imagine in a school district like Miami, Palm Beach County schools, Fort Lauderdale schools, you don't have one black boy in special ed. You have thousands of them in special ed. So you're talking about a multi-million-dollar budget based off the misdiagnosing of black kids with problems that they do not have.
That's what's up. Well, I'm excited for you to come and really, spread the knowledge and educate people on the information that you have and break down the book and stuff like that. Usually when I have the opportunity to connect with you, I always ask you some other questions about things that are going on based on your perspective. Here in South Florida, mainly, the whole issue with Cuba has affected Miami a lot more than anywhere else because we have so many Cubans here in South Florida, especially in Miami. With everything that's going on, what you know about what's happening with Cuba, what is your take on that situation and how the Cuban people here in America are responding to that?
Well, first of all, these rebellions or riots or the social unrest in Cuba, I believe, is being deliberately engineered by the United States power structure. They have wanted Cuba for a very long time. Castro is gone. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not sure if his brother is still in power or not, but nonetheless, America has always wanted control directly or indirectly over Cuba. And they've already destabilized Haiti so much that America is looking at this geopolitically. And she's saying to herself, we've already destabilized Haiti. If we can destabilize Cuba and Haiti, we can then begin to create an inroads into the Caribbean islands for the expressed intent of trying to redirect the Chinese takeover of the Caribbean islands, try to shut that down and reassert the American hegemonic imperial agenda on the Caribbean islands. America is very afraid of China's incursion into the Caribbean. And because she does not have a great history with Haiti or Cuba or many of the islands down there, she has to do other things like send earthquakes and hurricanes and, civil unrest like that, which is being engineered in Cuba as a means of getting into the Caribbean so they can try to push back the Chinese onslaught.